Scale Model World podcast.
Well, welcome to the Scale Model World podcast with your co-hosts, Dave Howell from Tyrell Models and Wayne Green from the world of Wayne.
Hiya, everybody.
Hey everybody, it's time for yet another episode. What I would say to begin with again is, this series is for all model makers. Whether you build partworks, you're into plastic kits, really anything that you sort of make. We're really about the makers channel. So if you are any kind of maker out there, this podcast is absolutely for you. Also, I always say at the beginning of these, if you've got any questions, any queries, do send them to us. You can reach out to us in various ways. Obviously, we have email addresses all over our websites and also in the description below. So if you do have something, a burning question or something that's you've been scratching your heads with for a while, do get in touch. We may be able to help, or we probably know somebody that we can maybe pass you to for some enlightenment if it's something that's maybe on a practical level. Now, we've got some excellent guests lined up for the next few episodes, really right across the model making community, and also some allied fields as well, because we've put our feelers out to really anything that we think is sort of connected with model making. So stay tuned for all of that. And as we always say, of course, if you don't already, then please do subscribe to the channel. Then you will absolutely never miss next episode. Click the bell icon as well, of course, for notifications. Now, since the last episode, couple of things I think have been quite interesting. First of all, you've been impersonating yourself, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And also, I've been off doing hopefully what will be a new series of videos across as many model shows as I can get to. I've kind of committed to, if it's a model show, I'll be there and I'll be recording it. And I was at the Stoke IPMS show at the Stafford County Showground a couple of weeks ago, and oddly enough, good old Keith was there from Cozmic, which is oddly enough our special guest today. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, as I say, I've been sort of trying to do all of that, trying to get out and about a little bit more. It's very great to go out and see sort of people, and IPMS shows are absolutely like that. So as I say, I'm going to try and get to as many as possible. So if you are an IPMS member in your particular group, or you do go along to these, do sort of find me. You should be able to find me fairly easily. Do come up and say hello, and I'll try and get to as many as I absolutely can. But for me, it's something to sort of get out there. I think I want to sort of connect with I guess our community a little bit more.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to network because it's a good place to network as well. That sort of thing, and you get to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. Plus, it's great to get away from four walls and just to do something outside. Now, I mean, I got to the small space show, as you know. I'm going to to Telford this year. I haven't really got round to many model shows apart from earlier in the year. I went to a Peterborough IPMS show, but obviously I do things which are associated kind of with the hobby as well, so that I do try and get to things like the Just Jane in the East Kirkby to see some of the aircraft there. In fact, I'm off to Duxford next week to see the Battle of Britain Air Show. So and you get inspiration for things like that as well there. I believe Airfix are going to be at Duxford as well, so that's going to be interesting. So I might chat to the team there and see how things are.
Yeah, I think Airfix, they do a great job of sort of getting out and about. You see them sort of pop up where you can't at least expect them. But I think they're doing a lot, absolutely a lot more of that. So yeah, I think it's great sitting in our workshops doing our thing. But absolutely, if you have a spare time, and it's usually on a Sunday, try and get out. And if you see any of us, do accost us for a chat. We won't bite. I assure you. So if you do find us, then please do come and say hello.
Definitely.
Now, last couple of weeks for me, it's kind of the same old. Usual builds for me, plastic kits, etc. A bit of Lego as well. And I've been looking at some interesting book nooks or nook books.
They are really good.
Which way around? But as a couple of those are quite fancy. So I might actually dive into a little bit of that. But I have a feeling it's a bit of a rabbit hole.
I think it is. There's a garden centre nearby to us called Gates, and they have a lot of the Roker models that are already laid out, and they've got the book nooks laid out, and some of them are really clever that they use mirrors in the back. So if you've got a street, it looks like it's a never-ending street that's going around. I really am like yourself thinking, I'm quite tempted to do one of these.
There's quite a few out there.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how sort of diverse it was. A couple of sci-fi ones I quite like.
Yeah.
But I was thinking maybe I could modify them. Maybe I could take one and then I don't know, theme it or something, or something like that, or add more 3 dimensions to it. More modelling stuff, because I quite like doing that with some of the existing and then trying to modify it in some way. So I'm thinking that might be quite interesting. I think. But I'll let you know which ones I sort of choose. And I may try and sort of film a build. I don't really have that sort of setup in my workshop, but I might be able to get something on camera. Possibly.
They are fun. They are fun to build. I built the luminous globe, which isn't a book nook, but that's sitting in my lounge at the moment. Because you don't really get to see the end result. You see a picture on the front of the box, but when you get it, it's just flat pack wood, and you're like, well, how's this going to look really? But it really does. It's really impactful. It's great how it turns out.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, some of the, kits like that. I suppose Sterling is the obvious one to point to. They've been doing that for a while, and that's kind of top end. It's like, what can you do with that kind of idea? Obviously we've come from the partwork world, and I think a lot of businesses have looked at that. So, okay, what else could we do? How can we use that idea and build more diverse stuff? And why not just build some scale engines? Yeah, excellent. Let's do that. Because when I was a kid, it was a case of you could build very small scale traction engines, which actually worked. They had boilers. You put coke in it and some water, and let it stick, kick it off, and it went chugging around my garden for a while. You could get little tiny traction engines back in the day. And I think what we've done now, we've just said, well, okay, with the new technology we have, can we do that much better and easier? So maybe. Yeah. If you're not quite confident, jump into maybe full plastic kits. Things like that. Things like book nooks could be a way of sort of getting you started. That thing about making. Have a go with those, because they are pretty straightforward. They look complicated, but actually when you get into it, the instructions are usually fairly good.
But it's good that it's a different medium. You're using wood rather than plastic, so it's great.
Yeah, things like that. I really, really fancy that. Now, from your point of view, of course, I think it's probably been same old. But I think for you, it's a case of, well, which one do you dive into first?
Not really. There's been actually since we've last spoken, there's been loads going on, and the first one, as you just mentioned, was that I was banned from Facebook. That was quite interesting because apparently I was impersonating the YouTuber World of Wayne. So I had to send my passport and driving license to prove that I am World of Wayne. And then they sent me a nice email saying everything's been restored, and it was because of our automated technology. You got to love a bit of AI, don't you?
Bloody algorithms.
We had, I've had the Ford Falcon. We've been having that debate. I've had that delivered, so that was the prototype. So I've got the prototype, and then I started pack one. So that was a new model build. I've also had pack one of the Apache from Agora Models delivered. I haven't had the instructions yet though, so I'm waiting for that before I can start building that. And then another bit, just a personal side note, is that my son has just had his mortgage approved and a house accepted as well. So it looks like he's going to be moving out in the next couple of months, which means I've got a new room, which is my room, and I'm going to have a new studio, and it's going to be my model room. That it's not where I'm building; it's where I'm either chatting on live streams or where I'm displaying all of my goodies. So that's what I'm going to be doing with that.
I'm very jealous of all the space.
It's my man cave in the house. I've got to have one.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I'm very jealous of the space. Space is of an absolute premium where I am. So if I could squeeze a centimetre extra somewhere, it's a win. But an entire room, wow, that's the stuff of dreams. It really is. It really is. And you're back Enterprise D again.
I am. I'm doing that, and I'm doing that on my YouTube members and Patreon members. And we actually on the first day, the first one we did this week, actually, we modified the bridge. We've done the nacelles. We modified those as well. It was just a stroke of luck that I knew my nephew was building it, and I just happened to ask him how far he's got, and he's like, well, I haven't started it. And I'm like, what? Ooh. So he's just been collecting the magazines, and he was going to do a build all the way through. So I pitched the idea, well, look, how about I do it for you, but I can modify it and try and make it the best it can possibly be. And
yes,
very
because
receptive to that.
Well, absolutely, because you didn't get a chance to do that, did you?
No.
To really go to town on the thing for various reasons, which you won't go into.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's fortuitous. So it's come back and given the opportunity to really have a go at it.
Yeah.
That's
so I'm really happy with how it's turned out at the moment. And in the next stream, we're going to be doing the resin filling of the windows, which means I haven't got to painstakingly put each individual window in there. And I don't know how many there are. There's thousands.
Yes, and I do quite like that I guess that part of model building. But I know what you mean. I've just finished the fourth wheel of the DB5.
Yeah.
I did it the hard way with all the spokes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want to see a spoke again in my life.
No. Well, I've just experienced that with the new Ferrari 250 GTO from Magora Models, and I think that's harder.
Is it? Jesus. I mean, I did hit on a sort of technique. The first one I tried to do, as they sort of suggest, you put the spokes through and then put them in place and then put the top on, and that just didn't work. Every time I moved something, it fell out.
Yeah.
So I hit on a sort of technique where I put a spoke in, tiny bit of UV resin, whack it with a torch, so it's set, it's in place. Then do the next one, next one, and that works fantastically well. It's half the time to build a wheel that way.
Yeah.
Because I just look at it the wrong way and one fell out.
No, I know you get that, but then you do get to a set. I mean, I haven't used glue on spokes for ages now, except for the Ferrari 250 GTO. I had to.
Gotcha.
It's only the first two rows. Once they're done, it's an easy to do.
Yeah,
but
just get that.
Wow.
It's just the first few.
Yeah.
It's just you patience of a saint, guys. It really is. I can see why they give you the easy version.
Yeah.
I really can. But we are model makers, so we put ourselves through this hell and it does look fantastic at the end.
It certainly does. Yeah.
The wheels do look really. But would I do another spoked wheel? I don't know. I'd have to think about that very close. I do quite fancy that car.
It's when you're done four and you think you're finished and you forgot about the spare.
This goes on and on and on. Yeah. Which is interesting. Now that sort of segues me into a question that we've had, which is all about glues and adhesives. And it's also quite it's odd actually that it dropped into my inbox a couple of days ago. It's from Alex Jones, who asks about sometimes when you do building part works, you try and put a part in place and it's either too loose, falls out. Should you glue them in place? Now, it's an interesting one because I was doing the DB5. I'm up to the carpets and interior bit.
Yeah.
So I flipped it over to put the circuit board in. What did I do? Snap the gear lever off.
Yeah.
Put too much pressure on. I thought, something's given below my. I thought, what's that? Snap the gear lever off. So obviously I've got to glue it back in place. But what plastic is it? Do I use Sci-Fi? Do I use super glue?
Yeah.
What's your view on gluing parts in place? Should you?
For partwork models, I use CA glue, nothing else but CA glue.
CA glue.
For kit models, a bit like the Mobius space station I've got, or any Airfix models, I like the Tamiya extra thin cements because of the way they react with the plastic. But if that CA glue is going to go near anything that is clear or needs to be transparent, I probably don't use it. I try to find another solution. I use a PVA glue, to be honest with you, for anything that's clear and transparent, and just leave it to set for 24 hours. I suppose hot glue would work again, but the problem with that is you've got the risk of melting the part then. So
I wouldn't go near hot glue. No. Yes, I think absolutely. I think it's something like some kind of CA glue. Yeah. Super glue. Yes, be careful, and again, nowhere near clear parts.
No,
because the super glue will fog the parts. Absolutely, but things like if it's something you're supposed to press into and it's quite in place, I think a dab of glue is fine. I think you have to just be very, very careful. I decant into something and then a tiny cocktail stick. But I've got a tiny applicator, which is looks like a sort of something a ninja would use.
Well, I've had situations as well where I've screwed things in, and it's gone fine, but it just seems loose. So what I'll do is I'll take the screw out, glue it, put it back in, and screw it back in again, and let that glue hold it, and the screw would just be a reinforcement then. So.
Yeah, because it's whatever the application is. I think. That kind of thing. You've often talked about that glue you get from the range, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's only available in the UK, and they don't sell it online anymore. So
no,
I
you
have
can't.
to go down, and
I've never found it in the grey.
It's a brushable glue. Now you can get Gorilla as a brushable glue, but their glue is very thick. And that's why I don't really use it. The advantage with the range glue is that it's very thin. So if you put it in the wrong place, you can probably get it off quickly without marking anything. But with the thicker glues, that ain't happening. You marked
Not
your piece.
really. So, no. And as I said, I'm using UV resin as a glue for Spoke. So if you have the application, if it's something that goes into a recess, and then you can put a little bit of this stuff on the top and then zap it with the torch, that could work. And then, of course, you're probably going to cover that with another component, so you're fine.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's that thing. Have a think about what the part is. I've no issues with gluing in place if it needs some extra strength. It's just be aware that super glue nowhere near clear parts. That's also a given if you're building even a plastic kit. Don't go super glue any parts like that. You can get specific glues for canopies, for instance. They exist. Tend to be, as you say, white glues, PVAs, these kind of things. They evaporate and they're completely clear. So have a think about that, Alex. Depends on what your application is, what kind of part you're trying to actually put in place, depending on which glue. Probably a PVA, probably a SIO of some description. But super glue has its place for some things, but I don't think I'd really recommend that for this kind of stuff. And again, UV resin as a possible glue that could be absolutely possible.
Before I move on, I'd like to talk to you all about a company that has transformed the world of scale modelling in recent years, Agora Models. Agora Models creates museum-quality big scale model kits. They invest heavily in making sure every customer feels welcomed into the modelling community and feels fully supported throughout the course of every build. Underlying this support is the Agora Promise, designed to establish confidence and trust that once a new model has been launched, it will not stop production until every part of the kit has been produced. To make scale modelling even easier, Agora now has their Advantage Club, a loyalty scheme that rewards customers, allowing you to collect points to exchange for free packs, enjoy discounts, get early access to new models, and ensure the customer care experience is world class. You can start building a model from Agora anywhere in the world, with deliveries dispatching from one of their 5 global warehouses. So if you love building scale models or you're thinking about giving it a go, there are plenty to choose from. Every model is guaranteed to impress family and friends with their beautiful pre-painted finish and easy build technique. Instructions are easy to follow, so anybody who can confidently wield a screwdriver can achieve outstanding results. You can find the full range of Agora's model kits at agoramodels.com, and there are more exciting releases coming this year. You can also sign up to receive their Scale Up newsletter to make sure you're the first to hear about the new releases, learn what the pros have to say about them, and read news from the wider modelling community. Learn how you can build a museum-quality, big-scale model by visiting agoramodels.com.
Well, we've come to the point in this episode where we welcome our special guest. As I mentioned earlier, a very special guest today is Keith Tomlinson, who you probably all better know as the proprietor of the Cozmic Scale Models shop. I think you've had him on a few times for a chat. I think you even visited his establishment.
Visited, and he also came with me to Wonderfest, so we shared the time together. Now, I am aware that you're going to hear from Keith now. We're actually talking about going to Wonderfest, so obviously we've recorded this now in the future.
Absolutely, and that's an interesting time shift.
Yeah.
As I said, we were away for a while while we were recording a few of these, and sort of Wonderfest came and went. Must try and get there next year if possible.
You'd love it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you were saying they were doing some work on the hotel that should all be done.
It's pretty much done when they were there. They had some really strange MC Escher carpet there, and they were still a few floors to do. But yeah, it's looking okay.
Excellent. It's on my diary. It's just if I can get there and if I can afford it, of course, because it's. I think last time I looked at flights, it was quite expensive to get there. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Keith. Hello, Keith.
Hi, Wayne. Hi, Dave.
Well, thanks for joining us, Keith. I wanted to get you on for a while. I think probably both of us are we have a sort of sci-fi and fantasy bent. I think that's absolutely true. And of course, you've been sort of feeding that obsession for several years with some very, very interesting models. I think at the moment there's some very interesting stuff coming along, which we'll talk about a bit later on. Because I was looking at your site recently and the things to come, and I'm very interested in the alien stuff. Very, very. We'll talk about that in a second. But what I want to sort of kick this off with first, I guess, is really sort of some background first. Who's Keith? What you've been doing, and where did Cosmic Scale Models actually come from? What's the genesis of the businesses?
Well, my background actually is in commercial art. I was a commercial illustrator and graphic designer for maybe nearly 40 years from leaving college, from art college, getting a job.
So you were of the age group then. You would have been around because I was a huge fan of all that stuff. All of the Paper Tiger publications. Ronnie Matthews, big fan of Ronnie Matthews. If you knew his work. A lot of the sci-fi covers. There were a lot of people in that space working in the sort of 70s and 80s.
My area was really advertising and greeting cards. So I ended my career being more of a greeting card artist than a commercial artist. But in my spare time, I did a lot of sci-fi and fantasy artwork just for myself, really. And that's where I honed my airbrushing skills. So these were the days before computer design, really. And later in my career, I got into Photoshop and Illustrator and using the computer as a design tool. But the early days, it was all on a drawing board and airbrushes and.
So prior to that, Keith, what was you always interested in the sci-fi fantasy genre,
I think so. As a kid growing up in the 70s, you had the reruns of Star Trek being shown on British TV, and then all the Jerry Anderson series, especially Space 1999. I think that's where my interest sort of laid at that time.
It certainly was for me. 70s. So I was still at school, secondary school. So for me, it was Blake Seven, frankly. Absolutely obsessed with Blake Seven in the 70s.
So I'm 58 this year. So I was born in 66. That was the year that Star Trek launched, really. The 70s was my sort of playground, if you could call it. But at school in the 70s, my passion at school was technical drawing, which would be CAD drawing now. And again, that was all two-dimensional on a drawing board using protractors and set squares. Pencil.
Old school.
Technical drawing and art were my passions at school.
So when did you start making things from the 2D to the 3D?
That happened by accident.
As most things do.
After my art career ended, I did some truck driving for a couple of years. And I had an accident. I was off work with vertigo. So I wasn't able to drive, of course. So I was bored. I just got back into building models again. And I wanted something to go with an AMT runabout model from Star Trek. There was nothing available, no accessories, figures, or anything. So I'd heard about 3D printing. So I started working on a little program called Tinkercad, which is a cloud-based.
Yeah, that's all I know how to use.
Where I started. And I made a few shuttles and accessories and bits of cargo and this, that, and other, some work bees. And I uploaded them to a company called Shapeways to print them out, and people started buying them. So I started earning a little bit of money doing it.
Yeah.
And then I heard about the advent of resin 3D printing, so I tried that. I got a machine, and it's sort of stemmed from there, really. And it just
from Tinkercad, where you started, was you self-taught on that? Then is that something?
Watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's more of a designer's tool than a engineer's tool. It's quite easy to use. It does have its limitations, but I think it's a good starting block for 3D design. I think once you've mastered that, you can go on then to using CAD programs or mesh programs.
Yeah.
So what was the time frame on that? So when would you have put your first model onto showcase?
That was probably early 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, and then my wife encouraged me to leave work and give it a go for a couple of years later, 2019.
Just before the pandemic
and
hit.
we launched the Cozmic Scale Models website the end of February 2020, 2 weeks before we locked down.
So suddenly you had all this time to work on the website and start thinking about what you want to do with the next.
Then we were
next
all
set
in
of models,
lockdown,
etc.
so I thought, oh no, this is a great time to start a new venture. But it was quite the opposite because people were at home with nothing to do. So
absolutely. I mean, how many times, Wayne, we spoke about that? The resurgence of model kits and model building. It's one of the positives that's come out of the pandemic.
Yeah. I think that it's a double-edged sword though, because even though the market or the demand will suddenly get higher for these models, I was finding during that time actually getting materials to make those models, resin and parts, because nothing was open. So you're working with what you've got and trying to get hold of things that were available was quite hard.
Luckily
during that
for
time.
us, our local post office was still open, so we were able to send postage out. And my wife worked all through lockdown because she was a nurse, so she was able to call in at the post office on the way home from work.
So have you worked from Tinkercad then? So from Tinkercad, when you're going on to, because you're using a CAD program now, aren't you?
An engineering CAD program that I use.
So you've self-taught yourself on that as well? Yeah. Oh my God! See, I've tried, but it's right over my head. Completely.
I think it helps that I'm from a background of 2D design in Photoshop and Illustrator, that sort of thing. So I use those programs for many years for work.
Wow.
I think some people get it or they don't. I think if you're a beginner and you think, okay, I'm going to go and get, I don't know, AutoCAD, that's probably overkill for what you really want to be doing, and that's going to be a huge learning curve as well as cost you quite a lot of money. So think of something a little bit simpler.
I tried using AutoCAD, and it's not a designer's tool; it's an engineer's tool.
If you want to build a bridge, brilliant. But if you want to design a pod from Star Trek, not so much. That kind of thing. But we were lucky that we have these fairly easily accessible tools. So you can get into this kind of thing very, very, very easily. I mean, 3D printing itself, when you started, of course, it was really early on. But now, of course, there's lots to choose from. If some people say too many to choose from, which machine do I get, and what do I have to match the software to the machine and the resins I have to buy and so on and so on. I hear a lot of people getting quite confused about the marketplace, where to go and what to buy. But that's just I guess that's just because the market's exploded, and I think a lot of that's come out of exactly what you were doing, Keith. People are saying, "Well, I want to do this; it doesn't exist, so I'll build it myself."
I think that's been the beauty of 3D printing. It's opened up such a wide area for model builders. We've been able to create anything we want now. So the major model manufacturers don't really listen to their customer base, I don't think. So people like ourselves, we've created a small niche in the market where we're creating things that people can't get anywhere else.
And does that niche get created for things that you want to see, or things that the demand from the community?
How commercial are you really, Keith? Or is it really a passion thing for you? This is what I want to see, and I'm sure there's lots of other people that do as well. And guess what?
A little bit of both, really. I think it started off with things that I wanted, and then now I'm getting. Of course, I'm getting requests all the time from customers saying, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" So the list of up and coming models is getting longer and longer. As you can imagine, and I've probably got a list longer than I'll be able to live. To be honest, so you have to pick and choose and think. Well, is this marketable? How many of these would I sell? And is it worth all the time and effort creating this model?
There are niches, but I guess I mean that's come out of what we understand as garage kits. That's what garage kits kind of eventually were, weren't they? There was somebody that couldn't get whatever they wanted to do, so they thought, well, I'll try and create one for me, and maybe a very short run for anyone else that might be interested. But garage kits. I don't know what you guys think, but I think when I say garage kit, you often think sort of low quality, very hard to build, not very well supported with instructions, etc. But actually, these days, a garage kit is probably the wrong phrase. I think we need a new phrase because the kind of kits that are produced by yourself, Keith, and others, they're very high quality and much easier to put together. You still need some skill, absolutely, but they are light years away from, I guess, what we would call garage kits back in the sort of 70s and 80s.
And I think there's still good designers out there creating moulded garage kits. So people like Randy Cooper and Fantastic Plastic, these are great artists that are producing great kits. But I think the advent of the 3D printing, it's moved the quality on. Definitely, as you say, the people say to me that we're producing kits that are injection molding quality, but without the cost of the injection mold, and that's if we try to produce these kits on an injection molding machine, it costs us hundreds of £1,000s just to make the molds. And if you want to change the design at some point, you can't because you've spent all your money on the molds.
But the quality, I mean, some of the quality of your stuff, Keith, is better than any qualities I've seen on any models or garage kits anyway. I mean, I've done, obviously, your V Starfighter, which just blew up on TikTok, I'm telling you, and this is around the world. People around the 12, I'm having to go through Google Translate to find out what people are saying. But you're just talking about these niches that, people probably forgot about in the 80s that are now coming back saying, I remember that. We didn't have a model back then to that, but now we can build a model like that. And things like the Oblivion drone, a very niche film. It was a bit of a Marmite film, wasn't it? But the amount of interest that people have especially seeing people like Ludo Meso building it, it's an amazing model. Spaceballs, the Eagle 5, it's like, oh yeah, wow. If I could own one of them, there's never been available.
I can blame you for the V shuttle because I remember you mentioning it on a live stream, asking someone out there to make a kit of it. So I thought, well, let's have a go, see how it goes. So it's your fault.
That was all because of Wonderfest, Keith, because I went there and they had a V shuttle, which was like a plastic toy, which I don't even remember coming out in the 80s. Because I don't know if you remember in V that Mike Donovan's son is actually playing with a toy of one of the shuttles. And it's like, where can I get a toy like that? Never available. It's
sure. Absolutely. Now, I also wanted to talk about. We've obviously talked about a little bit about your process. I want to maybe get a more of an idea of that. So you've decided it's going to be the V shuttle. We're going to do that. What's the process then? Can you take us through how you go from I've decided that's next to something that you and say Wayne and I can actually buy from you? What's the actual process?
First of all, it's the references. Get some good reference images. I'm lucky that I'm in contact with quite a few people who worked in the special effects industry, and they have lots of reference images because they're all massive geeks as we all are. They collect reference as part of their job. So I ask around, get some good reference images. Sometimes you may be looking at plans. Plans are great because you can scan those in and put them into the CAD system and have them as a sort of wallpaper in the background for you to draw against. References plans, and then it's a case of sitting down and sketching out how you think the model may go together. It's no point drawing it all in CAD and then trying to chop it up. I think the best way to do it is to design it in CAD as individual parts that then fit together. Planning ahead, realizing the way the model will fit together, and then starting to draw it in CAD.
That's interesting. So I would have guessed it would have been the other way around. You'd have built the entire 3D model in the CAD system, and then started to chop it up into parts. But actually, you think, okay, that's how it's going to look in the end. That we know what it looks like because of the reference material. How can we build that with the parts? And then you actually start thinking about designing the individual parts that will fit together to create the whole thing, not the whole thing first, and then in effect sort of slice it into parts. You actually do the other way around.
That's right, yeah. Because you may find once you sliced it up that it will be a problem to then fit together again. There may be overhangs that you've not appreciated, so that one part may not fit back into another overhang.
Yeah.
So I think you need to really sit down and plan it well ahead of drawing it all in CAD.
And I imagine you do lots and lots of test printings, test building. That's where you do all the tweaking to say, "Yep, this will fit together perfectly." Because I've built a dozen of these things.
Usually one test print is enough.
Wow, just the one.
Yeah. Maybe an odd little tweak on some small parts, but the main part of it is usually one test print and we're okay.
Wow, that's surprising. So I know from the injection molding guys, they do a sort of complete run, then get someone to sort of test build it. Then that guy comes back with, this doesn't work, this doesn't fit, and then they tweak that over many iterations just to get it right. And that's why the tooling costs so much, because there could be several versions of a single tool because they keep tweaking it to get it to fit. I'm talking about very complex models. Maybe the last Spitfire that came out of Airfix, for instance. I'm almost certain that went through a shed load of test builds before it was just right because of the amount of parts that were involved. But it's interesting that you can do that pretty quickly. I guess because it's all CAD based. You can do all the tweaking without having to actually print anything out to begin with. Because if it'll fit in CAD, it should print okay, shouldn't it? Because the tolerances on a 3D printer these days are brilliant, aren't
they? Yes, they are. We still have to build the tolerances into the CAD. Sometimes that doesn't work, particularly because if you overexpose your 3D prints, you're making the parts slightly bigger, so you do get tight parts sometimes. But that's also part of model making, just sanding a part down a little bit just so it fits.
Yeah, I think so. I think if it was too easy, I mean, maybe there's no challenge there, is there? You have to do a little bit of tweaking to get commercial models to fit injection molded.
I do like the idea that you can design something and you can create a prototype and have it there and then. You're not waiting for someone on that. I think that's brilliant. And you can, once you've printed that, I'm sure you've got the prototype and this is going to be a good model.
The prototype model is the one that I paint up and have on display on the trade stand at model shows, or it's the one that we photograph for the web page. So it's not.
Well, how far? I also want to ask you about how far. I mean, you got the reference material. You must be making decisions about what you create and what you leave out. I think I'm probably talking about the rivet counters, aren't I? These guys that will look at something and say that's wrong, or that's just something that's incorrect there, and they will point that out. So how do you decide? How far do you go before you say I've worked on this too much? That's enough before you stop, because it has to be obviously accurate. I mean, are you going literally as far as screen accurate, or is it accurate enough for kids?
It's accurate enough for us, I think. And I think the rivet counters really need to sort of take a back seat and think. It's a model. It's something you build for fun. If you're that bothered, I'd say build one yourself. Make your own.
Yes.
That's where the whole modding community comes in.
Yeah. Do it yourself. Yeah. Go do it yourself.
Spend months creating a model, absolutely screen accurate, and someone will say, "Oh, this part isn't actually correct." So I've got an image here that.
I'm afraid so.
So.
I mean, we have that all the time in the part work world. It's like, how far do you go? And there'll always be things that are not missing, but they can be better, and because that's where the modding community has come back. But I don't know if you. I just actually get involved with your stuff. People are looking at the base kit itself and then modding it to do whatever they want to do with with their kit. Because that's what it's about, isn't it? If you want to change something slightly, if you don't feel it's right, or you want to add something so it's more accurate for you, then off you go, fill your boots. That's exactly what it's.
Once you purchase the kit from us, it's yours. Do what you want with it. So
do what you like. Yeah, absolutely.
It's entirely up to you.
Are you building the fan home kit model? We've got something that will take your model to the next level. Introducing the Ultimate Electronic Kit by Cozmic Mods, the pinnacle of electronic upgrades for your fan home kit model. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a complete electronic overhaul. At the heart of this revolutionary kit is the Alpha Circuit Pro, a total replacement for the supplied mainboard. It supports all the original electronics LEDs, but that's just the beginning. The Alpha Circuit Pro includes a brand new LED kit for rear lights and side markers, an upgraded electronic dashboard, a state-of-the-art scanner, a new voice box, and an audio system with a Pro speaker that packs more power and quality while still fitting perfectly into the original slot. And the best part, all of these components are synchronized. They communicate seamlessly, creating a harmonized experience that's controlled by an RF remote and soon via a mobile app update. Yes, you heard that right. Your kit model will have synced animations, sound, and effects like never before. Kit and car modes, scanner, voice, and voice box change at the press of a button. German, French, and English audio built in. Internet radio and music through kit speakers. Over-air updates via Wi-Fi. And built-in power mod, the Alpha Circuit Pro powers your entire model. But wait, there's more. Cozmic Mods offers a range of other essential upgrades and mods for other iconic models, including the Hot Toys DeLorean, Fan Home Ecto 1, and the DeLorean Time Machine. Each component is completely bespoke and crafted with the highest attention to detail. So don't miss out on these incredible upgrades. The ultimate electronic kit for your fan home kit model is more than just an enhancement, it's a game changer. Visit MyClaimMods.com to get yours today and see why enthusiasts are raving about this kit. Cozmic Mods, where precision meets passion. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this chat about some new stuff. So there are a couple of things on your site at the moment. I was looking the other day, and you've got the tractor from Alien coming very soon, and also the pod from Wrath of Khan, which is quite interesting. And I went a bit of a Wrath of Khan fan, so I'm sure you're having a bit of a epileptic fit about when that's going to arrive to get your hands on it. So how do you decide on those two? Was it something that again was top of the list? It's just next on the list, or did you feel that those two in particular just needed something because again they don't exist, do they, as commercial kits?
Well, the Wrath of Khan pod is basically our previous motion picture pod with some extra detail on and slightly different interior, with the new figures, of course, the four figures.
Yep.
So we'll be selling that as either version, to be honest, because they're interchangeable. So you can either buy it with the Wrath of Khan figures or with the motion picture figures, and they're coming back into stock the end of this month. Actually, we're getting some in.
How do you manage your stock? Is that are you making in branch or is it outsourced?
The large items like the travel pod and the big studio scale stuff we get made commercial 3D printers. And the Oblivion drones they're made there as well. Cause...
I don't know if you ever saw Keith's Serenity. It was ginormous. It was absolutely ginormous. It was something to see, I tell you.
So that's the travel pod. It's just a slightly updated version of the original one that we did. And then the Alien Tractor, that's actually a model by Lee Stringer. He's producing those, so I'm waiting for him to send me some stock of those. So we've had no input on that at all.
Okay.
I've got one model in 35th scale in the shop that he sent me as a test piece, and it's got a lot of parts, over 100 parts to it. So it's a very nice model.
So is that a departure for Cozmic then to look at whatever else is happening in that marketplace and what would be a good fit for your catalogue?
No, we've been doing that for a couple of years. We've actually got a retail shop as part of the unit, and that's full of commercial kits. It's probably half our stuff and half commercial kits, and we also work with other designers like Jeff Fink, who designed the Eagle 5. We host some of his files, and we also produced a kit of his Eagle 5 32nd scale. So we work with other people as well. Because
I think it's interesting that the marketplace has kind of exploded. You can buy the kits themselves, but if you just happen to have a 3D printer, then you can get hold of the files and off you go. There's a marketplace has just exploded for that kind of thing. Now, I often talk to my IPMS group and say, well, can you print that for me? And well, have you got the STL file? No. Well, then I can't. So I can't do that. I haven't got a scanner. Although, again, that marketplace seems to be exploding across a lot of these crowdsourcing sites, selling pretty good scanners at reasonable prices. I think because people want to do that, they want to scan in their own stuff. Which they don't want to build, maybe from scratch in a CAD application or something. You can get stuff that's in there, or you want to just duplicate a part or whatever. So the marketplace has sort of expanded into not just the 3D printing, but the scanning now, and there's some very, very good 3D scanners to help you do that.
That's not something we've looked at yet. I don't think it's something we need, to be honest. We like to create, original.
Well, for you, kid, there's nothing for you to scan. You can't go and look at a Wrath of Khan pod and scan it. It doesn't exist. If you want to go and look at Lancaster, it exists, as Wayne was showing us earlier. You can go and scan that, and you can do whatever you want to do with the scans. But it's an interesting wrinkle on design and 3D printing. That you can now scan stuff in.
One way I've seen the scanners used really well is for World War II figures. People have been scanning actual people in uniforms.
Uniforms, wow. Yeah.
Scanning them and making figures.
Yeah. I think it's a mix. I think everyone is trying to do a lot of different things, and the technology is there to sort of help them. We're living in an age now where you can do all of this stuff. Literally a decade ago, this just didn't exist. Or if it did exist, the printers were just so expensive. They just weren't for some consumer level. But now there's professional level printing for very small amounts of money, and you can produce parts which are amazingly accurate from an STL file that someone else has created, because there's a huge marketplace. Again, it's usually from the Warhammer, the tabletop gamers. A lot of that stuff out there. I was looking at another Kickstarter yesterday for a 75mm figure. Amazing detail. These guys can have cram into these models if you're into that kind of model making.
One of the things that just to go back to Airfix and the way they design things, someone did ask Airfix a question: why don't you make pilots or figures for your models? And it's because their CAD designers have got no idea how to sculpt, so they don't do it. So it's like you need someone who can sculpt. And with Keith just talking about the ability to scan things and
somebody
stuff like that, it is brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, with the V fighter you've got, you had a whole army of visitors that you could actually have with that to create a diorama.
Well, the figures, I don't. I'm not a figure sculptor, so I pay someone to sculpt our figures for us. It's not an area I want to get into. It's a whole different thing.
It's an art form, yeah, absolutely. It really is an art form, sculpting decent figures. With some of the stuff that I sell, obviously it was a digital file to begin with, but it was sculpted by somebody, and then obviously it's cast in resin later. That's how they produce. But the detail is, I would argue, even better than injection molding, because just the way the process works, you can just get better quality printing. Particularly for figures, because the detail again is off the charts for some of this stuff. It's very, very good. If I'm going to do it, I always look for guys like Alpine. That's a very, very good figure brand. If you're into World War II and doing diorama, their figures are just second to none. But again, they've used the current technology to really push it forward as far as they possibly can. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Keith, was you do a lot of shows, don't you? You like to sort of get out there, and I've seen you out and about at large shows and even small events. Was that always something that you wanted to do, to get out there and sort of meet the actual public and literally put your wares in front of people? So it's not just an online shop; it's it's actually a physical connection with the community.
Yes, I think you need to get yourself out and be seen. Interacting with your customers, I think, is really important, because you get a flavour of what they want, and what if you're doing something wrong or something's not good enough quality, they'll tell you, and you need to correct it.
I'll tell you.
It's a lot easier to have a chat face to face than it is over an email.
And I'm assuming they are handing you. Have you thought of this, Keith? Lists?
Yeah.
And lots and lots of those on your whiteboard. I would imagine.
Yeah, and also they get to see the models built up, because we always try and show the models.
Yeah, your stand is amazing. The last one, I think you were at Scale Model World, weren't you? I think you were there, and I didn't manage to get some time to have a wonder about. But yeah, seeing the figures, fully built, lit, etc., so you can see exactly what you're getting. You see the quality, but it's not just a cardboard box with a figure in it. You can actually see what the time and effort that's gone into creating these models.
It must be something to see what people have actually done with your models as well.
Yeah, people send in pictures of what they've done, and some of them amaze me. There's a Romanian guy who's quite a good friend. He's built the studio scale Delta Flyer that we produced, and he's putting actual working LCAR screens in it.
Oh,
so they're animated screens. And it's just incredible work. I wouldn't have the patience to do something like that.
There's a video doing the rounds at the moment, again from Alien. Someone's built you've seen it, yeah. They've built the whole thing as an interior, fully working LCD screens with each of the Marines. The interior is just bonkers.
I actually asked that. I don't know if have you seen that the loader that takes Ripley and where they're monitoring the Jupes, Keith. What they've done is because if you've seen Aliens film, all the soldiers have their own screen and their life signs. The way they actually made it is actually one screen, and they put each individual screen onto that one screen and put a frame over the top of it, so it looks like all individual monitors. Pretty amazing, but again, as Keith says, I don't know if I've got the patience for it.
Well, it's always going to be one off. I think that's something that's a passion project. That is for if you're trying to turn that into a kit, geez, that'd be quite hard. Because there's only so many things you can do. I think a lot of these, it's also a cutaway, isn't it? It's I think it's a cutaway thing which they've done, and it's how far do you push that? Because we often have that conversation, don't we? Wait, what would be great as a partwork, for instance? That comes up all the time on your channel, but it's not a case of we'd like to see this. It's how popular would it be? Can we do that? With Mission Space 1999. Why hasn't there been an Eagle kit? Why can't I build an Eagle as a partwork, for instance? Those kind of kits would be fantastic. But it's not as easy to just say, we'll do that, because it could be a very limited marketplace, for instance. Those kinds of things.
Just to tie off, I think you've got to think about what's already out there as well. what I try not to do is do something that someone else is already doing, like the Eagles. There's no point doing another Eagle transporter kit because the MPC Polar Lights are already doing one. So there's no point copying someone else's work. Let's do something new. And I think the partworks should do that.
We have this we've asked this question before in the partwork actual companies like Fan Home and Agora about what do they feel about people modding their stuff or people selling mods for their models.
Sure.
Now with your models, you've got the ability that people might make lighting kits for it. How are you with other companies like making a kit for one of your models? Is that something that you're okay with?
I have a chap who actually designs lighting kits to go in my models, so I'll work with him really.
Excellent.
And he sells them himself, and he also sells them through us. So I have no problems people making things to go with our kits. It's all part of the same community.
Yeah, absolutely. Lighting is something. I always look at something I'm building. So can I put a lighting on something? But I don't know. It seems to be a very from my RPMS group. I'm the one that does that. I assumed that was just a dumb thing. Everyone did that, but I think I was a bit confused because a lot of the videos I'd seen were all American modelers, and it's huge in America. Lou does it all the time, doesn't he? Puts lights in everything. That's what he does, just to make the model a bit more interesting and more just sort of dynamic. But if you can do that, I think it's if you want to do that, it's absolutely fine.
I'm a member of a local model club, and there's probably two of us that put lighting in our models, and it's all sci-fi stuff. All the people building the military plane, the military vehicles,
don't do it.
They don't do it. Lighting.
No. Don't do it at all. Well, these days, I guess, okay, so if I bring something in for a competition or something for my groups, no lights this time. Well, it's not all the time. It's only if it's appropriate. It's you can't shoehorn in a light if it's not really appropriate.
But didn't you find that's why Cosmic Scale Models you stood out big time at Telford, Keith, because I think the sci-fi modeling community is growing big time. It used to be very niche in those IPM because it's all military normally, and you've seen enough planes, ships, and tanks to free halls of it. But when you see something sci-fi, that's what's normally, and you could see trying to get to your booth at Telford it was rammed.
There was a queue.
Saturday was
fight your way to the front. Yeah.
But it'd be good if that genre could come a bigger way. I mean, you'll be snowed under with work, I'm sure, Keith, if people are starting to give that. But I do think that there's a market for it. I mean, the amount of people that ask me for things like Red Dwarf and things like that. Yeah. Again, niche. There's nothing. There's nothing for it.
Yeah.
It's like unless you're skirting around on the internet trying to find STL files, but you won't normally get the detail that you get in some of these models that you're getting with Keith and stuff. So it's.
No, I think you got to appreciate that most people won't print this stuff. They don't want to do it. They want to build a kit. They want a kit. Yeah. They don't have the 3D printing machines to do it. So it's a case of the STL files might be available, but how do I print those so I can actually build the kit? Because all I want to do is the kit. I don't want to get involved with all the 3D printing stuff. Just give me a kit. That's all I'm interested in. I have a diary rammed with gaming events, you name it. I'm expanding my sort of sphere of interest to tabletop gaming as well, just to go along, just to see what's happening. Because some of their figures are just bonkersly good. I'm not really interested in the gaming itself. It's just the models that go with it, particularly the Star Wars stuff, which just come out, and Mandalorian. I'm more interested in the models that have come across from tabletop gaming than actually doing it myself.
I used to do wargaming when I was in my late teens. Started off with doing the Warhammer fantasy and
it's just massive.
And then got into Napoleonics and various other genres. But I used to enjoy building the terrain. And buildings and castles and that sort of thing. I used to enjoy building those.
Well, we're almost at time on this one, Keith. So, I guess the final question is, I guess, what's next for Cozmic? We've talked about a couple of models which are coming. Any sneaky peeks on what might be next?
Well, you talked about Red Dwarf.
Oh, hello.
Wow.
This year,
Hold your horses.
there are 2 red dwarf models that I want to produce because I've already done had the figures sculpted for them. So that's on the cards for this year, and hopefully they'll be at least prototype ready for Telford. I'm also working on some more V ships at the moment to finish off that range. I can't say too much about what's coming further in the future because I don't want people to take it upon themselves to put me to the post, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely,
I fully understand.
Of course, I know Red Dwarf. Yeah,
so,
well, that could be very, very.
I've been asked
interesting.
to do some more Red Dwarf stuff. So, and it's probably a passion of mine is Red Dwarf. But yeah.
It's a passion of a lot of Americans. I couldn't believe how many Americans at Wonderfest last year just asking me about. I thought it'd be Doctor Who, but no, Red Dwarf.
Dwarf, there you go. So,
I'm producing a couple of kits for Jeffrey Fink. He's working on a concept, a Star Trek concept shuttle at the moment, and we'll hopefully be making a kit available of that as well as the download as well. And also, we need some more space in the shop. So I'm hoping to expand a little bit either side of the shop. We need some more retail space. I think when Wayne comes up to see us, he'll realise how small the shop is. We're desperately running out of space. So, and of course, more model shows.
Absolutely. I'll definitely see you at Scale Model World in November. I've just booked my table, so I will attempt to fight my way through to have a word in November. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we've got for this one, everyone. I'd like to thank Keith for taking the time to talk to us today. So until the next time, thanks, Keith, and well, hopefully see you soon. Probably at say Scale Model World, or if you're at another event, do make your way to Keith's stall for the growing range of models he's got at the moment, and some very nifty stuff coming in the future.
Excellent.
Take care,
Keith.
Goodbye.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode. I'd like to thank Keith once again for joining us today for a fascinating chat about his business and his modelling world. In the next episode, we're speaking to Ross Graham, who many of you may know from his amazing YouTube channel, Faux Hammer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Until the next time, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Wayne.
Take care, everyone. See you later. The Scale Model World Podcast.